Hello, my name is Yogesh and I'm speaking to you from Istanbul. And I've been asked to share some ideas on the theme of uncertainty. Now, one thing that's always been the case, but has become even more so prevalent in these last few months, in this last couple of years, in fact, is that the world is unpredictable. We live in times of great change, great uncertainty. And what this does, of course, is when we live in an environment of uncertainty, it can create various emotions, all connected to the family of fear. And some of these include anxiety, tension, nervousness, and so on. And if we allow these emotions to persist in our minds, then they also lead to problems in our physical health, sleeping disorders, eating disorders, and so on. And so how to navigate our path through these uncertain times so that we're able to maintain our personal peace of mind, to remain useful, to stay happy, to remain productive, and to continue to be able to enjoy life and our relationships with our family, our friends, and our work colleagues. So I'd like to share a few ideas and experiences from my own life about what has helped me to handle the emotion of fear and the relatives of fear, as I have just mentioned. So coming into a spiritual path from quite a young age, I became aware that there is a life we have outside of us, the world outside of our family, study, career, and so on. But as well as that, there is a life inside of us. And that's the life of our thoughts, our feelings, our experiences, our perceptions, etc. And I think I was quite surprised as I reached my teenage years to see how little attention people pay to their inner world, to their inner life, as compared to the outer life. And I think due to this imbalance of attention between these two worlds, we have a world in which there is so much stress and tension and anxiety. And I find that there are two things which we need to pay attention to in order to handle fear, and also in order to be able to make our minds steady and enjoy a life of happiness. And those two things are, in essence, having a greater understanding of life and the laws and principles and mechanisms by which life works. The second thing is how to further develop our inner strength, our resilience, to be able to handle the challenges and the changes which come from the outside. So I'd like also to share a few slides with you, just to help me to illustrate some of these points. The first one is to do with what I think is the most important word in human language, and that is the word awareness. We use the term Hindi term samriti, which can be translated as awareness. According to what information we place into our awareness, so ultimately will be how we relate to the world and how we experience life. When our awareness is at a very limited level, then our experience of life is also full of fear, tension, anxiety. When our awareness is at an unlimited or an open level, the very same world, the very same experiences we receive very differently. So here comes the first slide to illustrate this idea. So as you can see here, this is a spectrum of awareness. And down here at the bottom, our awareness is very limited, which means the way we see life is very limited. We understand things from a very limited perspective, our relationship with death, for example, or with birth, or with criticism, or with rapid change. It's like looking at life through, a very, very narrow lens. And when we are living in a very limited awareness, then quite naturally the emotion which emerges is of insecurity. And we wonder what is going to happen tomorrow, why are things happening the way they're happening, and a whole host of other questions enter into our thinking, which then also mess with our emotions. So when we feel insecure, quite naturally, the tendency we have is to hold on to something. Just as physically, if you are slipping and falling, instinctively, you'll put your hands out to hold something to break your fall, to stop you from falling. The same thing happens with our minds too. When we feel insecure, then our minds will hold on to something or to someone to try to feel secure. And as we get used to living with this holding on tendency, then we create, as you can see here, a dependency. We become dependent on a person or a place in order for me to feel good. And as that dependency takes hold within my own thinking, within my way of living, then it creates an attachment. And one thing is for sure, somewhere at the roots of all suffering, you will find attachment. So what to do? Well, let's now have a look at the other end of this spectrum. And as you can see, it's opening up rather like in a V shape. As our awareness opens up and we come into unlimited awareness, and we begin to live in unlimited awareness, then what we will experience is a very, very deep and strong sense of inner security. And when you feel very secure, then what is the behavior which emerges from that? Is you very naturally are able to let go. And this is the beauty of how to be able to enable the mind to let go of its attachments. It's not by wrenching them, pulling them out of the mind, but rather taking a step behind to see, why am I holding on to things in the first place? As I feel secure, the mind begins to let go. And as you begin to let go, then you experience true freedom. The sign of a person who is truly free is there is a natural happiness in their mind, in their life. They carry that happiness around with them. And so the question arises, well, how do you go from this space of limited awareness into unlimited awareness? And what this model is showing us here is the way to do that is to use, explore, discover, and to live in spiritual knowledge. Use spiritual knowledge in your life. Go deeper into it. Understand the mechanisms of life. Understand what life is all about. All the invisible laws and principles which are governing life. And through that, you reach this space which is known as unlimited awareness. So what are the different aspects of spiritual knowledge which can help us to reach unlimited awareness? And so what I'd like to do is to look at fear in three particular forms. Now, fear, of course, is a very deep and powerful emotion. And pretty much all of us have one or another kind of fear. It has been also said that indeed there is nothing to fear but fear itself. And a mind that generates fear will also generate lots of other negative emotions, which then, can lead to problems in life in terms of health and relationships and how we handle situations. So let's look at 3 different types of fears, which I think are quite common. And also then we will discuss what do we do about them in order to alleviate or be free from these fears. So once again, I have a slide to show you. Let me bring this one up. Okay, so I think you can see this. So what we're showing here in this box in the just below the center of the slide is a set of limited beliefs. And so what has happened to us as we have gone through life is we have acquired various beliefs about life. And a belief, of course, is just my limited view of something, my particular perspective. And a belief can be very, very different to the reality or to truth. So, for example, there are some beliefs I may have about myself, which are not true. There are some beliefs I may have about another person or another group of people, which may be not true. There are certain beliefs I have about God, which may be not true. And there may be certain beliefs I have about life in general, which may be, again, absolutely not true. But the beliefs that we have acquired and we have absorbed into our awareness are then shaping our attitude and our vision, the way we see things, the way we deal with things. And I have come to the understanding that the emotion of fear is very much connected to these limited beliefs which we are holding on to within our own awareness. And as this model is showing us here, what happens if I displace the limited belief in my awareness with truth? What is the limited belief and what is the truth about certain areas where we may experience some fear? And so let's look at the first one here, as you can see on the left. Perhaps the one that we all have to a certain degree, which is the fear of death. So the fear of one's own death. And so what is the limited belief that this fear of death is based upon? And so that belief which we are carrying, which leads to fear of death, is that I am this. I am this body. When I believe that I am a physical body, then I will also believe that at some day, at some point, I will cease to exist. I will finish. I will die. And when that belief is in my awareness, then naturally I will do everything to avoid death. And the fear of death will be there. So fear of death is based upon the wrong belief, the misunderstanding that I am a physical body. Now, of course, in the world today, this is the belief that is portrayed to us every single day. And therefore, it has become a very deep fear pretty much in all of us. But what does truth tell us? What does spiritual knowledge tell us about this particular idea? And so the truth in our understanding of spiritual knowledge is that, in fact, I am a spiritual energy. I am the soul. I am that star of light, the star of spiritual light, which resides in the center of the forehead. And the truth is that I am a non-physical energy. The truth is I am eternal. The truth is I can never die. And so what I find that this basic first truth, that I am a spiritual energy, I am the eternal soul, this is something we have not just to accept or to believe or to understand, but we have to live this. We have to experience this. We have to live with this idea and feel it in our day-to-day life. And this is what makes the difference. Since the wrong belief has gone so deep into our awareness, it also means that the truth that I am an eternal soul, we have to allow that to penetrate deep into our awareness in order to uproot the wrong belief. And this is what we would describe as living in soul consciousness. And certainly my own experience in my spiritual journey is that this is the ongoing lesson which I have to come back to again and again and again to continue to make it deeper and deeper. I am an eternal soul. I can never die. Now, I remember it being said once that all fear is the result, all fear is the progeny of the soul's attachment to its own physical identity. That's the big problem. The soul has become very attached to the physical identity. If we break this unhealthy attachment, which is also a kind of sickness of the soul, then the fears, the anxieties, the nervousness, the worries, they all begin to reduce. Now, of course, it takes time because, as I mentioned, the fear has gone so deep inside, so the truth must go even deeper to remove that fear which is based upon the wrong belief. So that's the first one, the fear of death. Second fear, which again, a very common one, is the fear of losing someone. Now, let's just look at this sentence, fear of losing someone. Why do we say losing someone? When somebody dies, and I think in most languages, this word loss is used. I am sorry for your loss. Or last year we lost so-and-so. So what is the false belief that this fear is based upon? And that false belief is that you can own someone. If you believe you can own someone, then you'll also have a fear that you will lose that one. And this is the illusion. The truth is, you don't own anyone. The truth is, all of us are individuals, individual souls. Yes, we come together, we dance together through life, we play, we enjoy, we interact, we have each other's company. But at the end of the day, you don't own anyone. And one day, time proves this to us when even people we are very, very close to, for one reason or the other, will no longer be there for us. So truth tells us this, that observe the principle of real, pure love. And what is the principle of pure love? And that is that you can support, you can care, you can share, You can uplift, you can help, you can be present, you can encourage, you can inspire, you can console, you can embrace. But what you cannot do is you cannot possess another soul. You cannot possess another person. The moment you start possessing someone, even in your mind, then you are breaking the law of pure love. And when you break a law, there is always some kind of penalty. And the penalty in this context is you lose your happiness. You begin to suffer. You experience anxiety. So what spiritual knowledge is telling us is live in this truth. Interact, care, and share, and love very deeply. But at the same time as loving very deeply, also have a complete detachment from the other. This is how to overcome the fear of losing someone, is living in the awareness of I am the individual soul. Here is another soul. We may be passing through time together. We may be traveling through time together. We may be passing through the journey of life together. But detached and loving, the detachment keeps the love pure and clean, and the love enables the detachment also to be real and healthy. So when we see another person, here's the important thing. When I see another person, what is the first thing that I see? If I see that, this is my wife or my husband or my mother or my father or my son or daughter, etc. If I have that, if that's what I first see, then my consciousness is pretty low. My awareness is low. But rather, when I first see another person, let me see that person as another soul, another spiritual energy, another beautiful, eternal spiritual energy in the forehead, who's playing his or her unique role in the grand theater of life. This awareness helps us to have a healthy spiritual distancing from others. Just as in the last couple of years, we've heard this phrase so often, social distancing. Why to be socially distant? So that if somebody has the disease, has the bug, then if you're socially distant, you won't catch it from that person. The same way, when we have this spiritual distancing from everyone, then it allows us to maintain the purity of our love. It allows us to maintain a genuine and healthy respect and regard for the other. And then we're not pulled into the possible ego games or attachment of other souls. So truth is telling us this, and that's how to handle the fear of losing someone. And the third one we have here, as you can see, is the fear of missing out. Some people call that as FOMO, the fear of missing out. And basically what that is, the fear that whatever is due to me, something that really is mine, is I have a right to, I will not receive. Somebody will block me from getting what I really deserve and should receive. And so in order to deal with this fear of missing out, we may perform all kinds of antisocial behaviors or even sometimes criminal behaviors. But this idea that I may miss out on what truly belongs to me, this is based upon the limited belief that life is random. Life is spontaneous. Life just happens and, you're lucky or you're unlucky. But the truth here is very different. The truth is telling us that life is not just a series of random and unrelated events. Life is not so spontaneous, but there are laws and principles. There is a mechanism by which life is operating. And one of those mechanisms, and perhaps this is the main one, is there is a law of cause and effect. There is a law of action and reaction. There is a law of choice and consequence. And so what that's telling us is, as long as I continue to perform actions which are, let's say, of the highest order of virtue that is possible for me, the result will come to me at its own time. It is impossible that I do an action and the reaction does not come to me. It's impossible that I create a cause, I make a choice, and the effect or the consequence is stolen by somebody else. No, in the long term, absolute justice does prevail. Whatever action I choose to do, at some point the result will come to me. So when I'm living with this awareness, when I'm living with this aspect of truth in my awareness, anxiety, nervousness, tension, the fear of missing out begins to dissolve and disappear. And we don't need to, to think twice or three times about, will I receive what really I deserve? What is also true is sometimes you perform an action, but the result of that action comes to you after a little while, or after quite a long while, or after a very long time, the result comes to you. Now, sometimes we see other people receiving their karmic fruits, as it were. The law of karma, I'm sure you're aware about that. Somebody else may be receiving their karmic fruits. Let me be happy for them, knowing that my karmic fruits will come to me at the right time. And hence there's a very beautiful saying that do good actions, throw them into the ocean, do not count them. At the right time, the result will come back to you. And so just in essence, these are some of the things that have helped me in dealing with, some emotions of fear or anxiety. And I realized over the years, it's really not enough just to know these things, but I really have to allow them to percolate through into my awareness, and for them to shape the way my thoughts are working and the attitude I have towards life. And if that happens, then it's not just your mind, but also your intellect experiences a lot of peace, because the intellect stops overthinking. Why and what and how and what if this, what about that? All of these thoughts which cause the intellect to overheat and cause the intellect to lose energy, the cool water of truth, let me live with that truth in my intellect and realize that there is much, much more to life than is visible through the eyes or which you can hear through the ears. And you go on this amazing journey of discovering these non-physical principles of spirituality and the mechanisms of life. So just one last little slide to show you, just an image. And I think many of you would have seen this, but it's just a lovely image to just keep in your awareness that this is me. I, the eternal spiritual energy. And I find that if I can maintain that image in my awareness, it really, really helps to have a feeling of self-control and to be able to handle the challenges, the difficulties which maybe life brings to us. And to realize that ultimately, I am bigger, I am stronger than the challenges in front of me. And so the fears, the anxieties reduce, and you live through life with peace of mind and your happiness in your own hands. Okay, thank you.